Hi guys, welcome back to this Tuts Plus screencast tutorial series. My name's Corey Simmons, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to use Gumby's grid system and make everything a bit more semantic by using Sass.
Alright, so in the last one we talked about Claymate, and this one will move like across the line up here to the grid. And I'll show you how to use Semantic Grids and basically just cut a lot of junk out of your markup, like whereas section would like have like class, row, and article would have column 8 and aside would have columns or 4 columns, and you know you're almost like doubling your markup. Not really, but I mean, like, it makes it a lot easier to read. So we'll just build off of our Claymate example here. So we don't have to go install it and build and all that stuff again. And let's just come down here and we'll say section. And we'll say aside. And we'll say h2 sidebar. We'll put some anchors in here. And I'm using emit, which if you're using Sublime Text, if you go to package control, install package, and then just type in emit, it'll pull it up and you can just install it like that. And it's just Zen Coding 2.0. If you don't know what Zen Coding is, I'm sure there's a tutorial on Tuts Plus about it. But basically we can just write out selectors and make our markup like so. So like, you know, I've got an anchor with an href attribute here, and I've set that to an equal sign, or a hash, sorry. And inside that I'll put some text that just says link. And then I want 4 of those, so times 4, and then I hit tab, and boom. Alright, so that's your emit tutorial in case you aren't hip. Alright, so we'll say article, say header, say hello Gumby. Now I'll put a couple paragraphs in here right quick. Okay. So now let's open this page up and drag this over here, this over here. And one of the things with Gumby, if it defaults to a sans serif text. So if you're getting a serif text whenever you load it up, that means you're not on your localhost, and you should be on a localhost for any web development type stuff. And the way to do that is if you're on Mac, then use MAMP down here. If you're on Windows, use WAMP, which is the same, just with a W. If you're on Linux or Mac or Windows, you can use something called XAMPP with an X. And so those are just like quick installs, like to put a server on your computer and to be able to use localhost instantly. And localhost will let you do stuff like use PHP, access like HT access files, things like that. And it'll also make it so that like if we open up our Sass folder here and go down to fonts, you can see it like this. This doesn't have an HTTP in front of it, which is like a header protocol thing. So since it doesn't have that, it's expecting the server to figure that out. And the reason that Google and a lot of places are doing that now is because if you're on an actual website, it'll detect if it's HTTPS or HTTP by itself. But if you're like, so if we just typed in HTTP here and hit save, I'm sorry, we need to be using a Compass to watch that real quick so we can compile that Sass. Okay, so now we've saved that. Go over here and refresh. Now we don't have to actually be on a local host. But if we don't have that, we go refresh a few times. Yeah. So let's go ahead and turn this into our, like, go to our localhost folder. All right. So, so anyway, like, we want to start using Sass and stuff. Yeah, on Compass. So you need to go download Sass at sasslang.com. And actually, I think you might just be able to install Compass. So we need to go to Compass. Yeah, I learned to type. Compassstyle.org, compass-style.org. Go to install. And I'm pretty sure that you can just install Compass, but we'll go ahead and show you how to install Sass too. To install Sass, you just come to sass-lang.com, click on download. It'll say gem install Sass. And like we were using npm to install the node package, we need to use gem to install Ruby packages. So there's all kinds of package managers out there. There's like Bower, there's Jam, there's Gems, there's npm. There's like so many different things out there. It might be cool if they just standardize that, but I don't think anybody is going to, and it's not so bad, I guess. All right, so if you're on Windows, you need to go to rubyinstaller.org first, and just click download. And then whenever you can go to your terminal here and type in Ruby and not get an error, that means that you've done everything right, and that you have Ruby available. Once you have Ruby available, then you can use gems and stuff like that. If you do get errors, then just go Google how to add Ruby to my path in Windows. And if you Google that, you'll probably find some stuff on Stack Overflow where people will show you how to. I think that you have to go right click on computer, go down to properties, maybe go to system variables or environment variables, or advanced settings. And then eventually, like, you're trying to get to environment variables. Once you get there, then go down to global. Like, there'll be like a little text box, and you go down to that, and then scroll down, and there'll be like a little path thing that you can select. Select that, add a semicolon on the end of it, and then find the path that your ruby.exe installed to. Copy that path, which will be something like C drive, I don't know, like Ruby, maybe like bin or something like that. But copy that path into there. So like after your semicolon, just copy that path and then hit OK a few times. And then restart your command prompt and type in Ruby, and you should have it. If not, like I said, just go Google it. You'll figure out how to do it. Once you get Ruby installed on your computer, you don't have to ever do it again, so that's good. And then we'll go over to sass-lang.com. Just copy that. So Ruby will install gem on your computer, like node installed npm. So you just type in gem install sass. And then we can just close that. If you don't know Sass, you should learn Sass. So you just click on tutorial, and it's really simple stuff. Like basically you can nest selectors. So instead of having to write them out side by side like this, you can just nest them inside of some curly braces. You can reference like parent selectors. So, you know, like for anchors, you can just say and it'll type that out for you. Like that'll be what gets compiled. You have access to variables. I mean, like you can change colors, all kinds of stuff. It's such a big thing. So anyway, but you should learn it. It's really super handy. And there are 3 compilers out there. There's Less, there's Sass, and there's Stylus. So pick one and just start learning it. Once you have Sass installed, come over here to compass-style.org/install and do a gem update -- system, and that'll update all of the packages on your system. And then gem install compass. And now you have compass. It'll install. So what compass is if we click on reference here, and let's just click on say CSS3, and then maybe border radius. And then we'll click on border radius again. Okay, so with compass, and a lot of these are called libraries, like preprocessor libraries or preprocessor frameworks. There's another one for Sass called Bourbon, which is pretty big. For Stylus, it's called nib. And then I forget what it's called for Less. But all these preprocessor libraries, what they do is they'll give you like access to prefixes automatically. So, you know, like for border radius, you would say @include, which is a Sass thing. You're just saying include this mixin. And a mixin is kind of like a function. So we're saying @include border radius 25. And what that'll end up spitting out is border radius with all these prefixes on them. That's just one example. Like that's the simplest example of what they do. They prefix stuff. Another thing they do, like they do all kinds of stuff though. Like for instance, like, you know, you can use these reset utilities. So you can use like Eric Meyer's old reset, which adds like a ton of stuff to your inspector. You can use all kinds of stuff, like just tons and tons of resets there available, and like they're super easy to use. So you just say import, and you don't even have to import like this specifically. You could just say import compass, and then you have access to everything in compass. So yeah, you just say include global reset, and it'll reset everything. So I mean, that's the gist of preprocessors and all that junk. So now that I've taught you all that in 2 minutes, let's jump right in here. Okay, so we've got our index here with our pretty markup, our gorgeous semantic markup. If we go in here to our Sass folder and we click on custom.sass, let me change up this view here, so change the layout to rows too, so you can see what's going on. And we'll put our Sass down here. Okay. So here's our pretty markup. So we've got a section. So that section, we can say at include row. Save that, come over here, refresh a few times. Oh, I'm sorry. So once we went out and got compass, now we need to use it. So we just type compass watch. Cool. And it'll sit there and watch the files to see if anything gets changed or added. Gumby automatically configures this for you in config.ruby file. Usually if you're using Compass, you have to like kind of configure this yourself, or you have to create a project using the Compass install or Compass create command. But with Gumby, it'll automatically configure all that stuff whenever you do Gumby or Claymate install. So anyway, we've got our section here. We said, let's use this mix in where we say include row and refresh. You see we get the padding on each side. If we expand it out, now it's like centered with the whole max width and margin auto on each side. Cool. So basically that's the equivalent to typing class row. Now it might seem a little bit weird to do it that way, but like imagine like you've got a big site with tons of rows and tons of columns and stuff. Like you're making your markup more legible, and that's a good thing for everybody, for your designers, for your developers, for like future maintainers of your code. They can see what's going on immediately, like in your markup anyway. And all right, so then in our sidebar here, we want to make it column 4. So we say at include column parenthesis 4. See our sidebar went over here. And then our article, which contains our paragraphs here that are like sliding under, because this is just floated to the left. So, all this this stuff drops down underneath it. So our article here, though, we'll say at include column 8. And where Gumby's based off of a 12 column grid system by default, we just have to add up to 12, and then it'll take up the full width. You can change that in settings here. You can change like how many columns it takes up by default. So if we make it take up, say 24, and then we save it, and then we refresh, it's going to take up half of this screen. You see? So then we'd have to say, include 8, and then what is it? Is that right? No, that's not right. It's 16. No. Yeah, that's right. 16 plus 8 is 24. I'm so good at math, you guys. All right, so that's how that works. So we'll just change it back. In the hybrid grid system, that basically just gives you like a secondary grid to work with. So what you might like to do is, just so that like you can make them match up, you might say like 12, and then if you want to get really specific with it, you could say 24 for your hybrid grid. So then usually you can just use 12, and you're just using like small numbers to add and subtract and to figure out in your head. And then if you really want to get specific with it, you can say 24. Or if you want it to be like offset a little bit and look a little bit different, you could say 16. I suggest you use 24 because that's more grid-like. So let's see. Go over to the Semantic Grids section under mix-ins. And again, we can just say hybrid instead of column. So if we switch this back, so like we switched back to 12 columns by default, right? So if we switch this back to 4 and 8 and refresh a bunch of times, all right, then it lines up as we'd expect. And I'm gonna show you a little trick I use just so I can see like exactly where everything's at and like what's getting margins, what's getting padding, all that stuff. I just say star selector background RGBA 000.05. And what this does is it creates super light gray, semi-transparent or translucent backgrounds for everything, so I can see exactly what's going on. So anyway, now we got these 4 columns over here and 8 columns over here. Now if I say hybrid, that's going to go to our 24 column grid that we made. I'll just save that and refresh. So 8 out of 24 is going to be a lot less than 8 out of 12. So this should like just be a third. It should like cut off like right around there. If we refresh, yeah. So let's see. That looks like it's taking up a little bit more than a third. So maybe what it's doing, okay, I think I see what's going on. Yeah. It's taking up a third of the entire width. Okay, I'm an idiot. Okay, so hybrid is now taking up a third of the entire width. So I'm sure a lot of you can see exactly what's going on. But let's just duplicate this article. Save it. Say hello Gumby 2. And now if we refresh, yeah. So yeah, that's what hybrid does. It basically just it'll look at your row container as if it's using a 24 column thing. So that's how you use hybrid. Let's delete one of these. Okay, so back to just one, and now let's say we want this to take up 16 out of 24 in the hybrid grid. And like I said, this is good just in case like you want to get like really specific, or like use like an odd number or something like that, something that doesn't have a factor of 12, or isn't a factor of 12. Okay, so now we've got that. Now you might want to know how to nest stuff because that's pretty important, I hear. I'm not sure why I nested all these paragraph tags inside of that header. That's dumb. That's not what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do either. Hang on. So we'll take all these paragraphs and smoosh them right down there. That looks right. Okay. And then so yeah, let's say we want a couple divs here. Actually, let's use some images instead. That'll be better. Examples, we'll say placekitten.com /400 by 300. Meow. All right, and refresh. We got that kitty cat there. Refresh again. We got 2 kitty cats. So now, we want this article. Okay, so let's wrap these in a div real quick. Oops. And let's add some text back up here, just for demonstration purposes. And let's add some filler text right there. Okay, so now our article we want to be, let's switch this back to column just so it's more sensible since we're not really needing to use hybrid. Okay, so we want our article to actually be 8 out of 12 columns. Now let's say we want these kitty cats to be side by side. So the way you would do this normally is just say include column 6, right? So each one would take up half. So if we save that and then refresh, you can see that it's not like that they're not side by side, and there's a margin over here on the side. So if we inspect that, check it out, we can see that it's getting margin left and This one's also getting margin left because they just push off of the left. That's how they do it in Gumby. So the way to fix that, well, first we have to come in here, sorry. So, I'm sorry, normally the way you would do this is you would give it a row. So like this div would be class row, and we'll do it the semantic way in here and say include row. And then within that div, we'll go ahead and nest these just so you can see like what exactly is going on here, like what's nested inside of what. Okay, so we've got this div here, and that's now a row. We've got these images, and they're each 6 columns. So now if we refresh, again, we're getting like this big padding on each side. We don't want that. We want these images to be flush up against this line so it matches up with this text, right? So the way to do that is to go up here to include row and just type in quotes nested and then refresh. Boom. And now we've got those side by side. And same thing works with hybrid columns, like you just say row nested, it's the same thing. So that's how you use semantic grids to make some really cool stuff. To clean up your markup and make your pages look a lot better. So anyway, hope that helps.
In the next video in this series, we'll start learning how to use the Gumby.json file to install modules and add-ons like Gumby's parallax scrolling feature. My name is Corey Simmons, and from all of us here at Tuts Plus, thanks for watching.